Hey y'all, Will here, otherwise Zelray, and today in Once Human we're going to be going over all of the new Way of Winter deviations that we have access to, which seems like all of them through the field guide. We have number 48 being the Ice Pot through number 54 being the Snowsprite, and on our right you can see some honorable mentions that I'll be bringing into attention near the end of the video for some information that you might not know about that you may want to if you're into collecting deviations or using them in your best interest. First off, getting right into the video, we have the Ice Pot. The Ice Pot creates sticky ice crystal. These allow you to manipulate the terrain in a not so significant way, but one that is useful, where you can simply make ice crystals that you can jump on. These can be destroyed if they take 1,000 damage, and they allow you to jump to other areas previously unattainable very quickly. Now, what's nice about this is that you can use this with the ability of By the Wind, which allows you to jump very, very high essentially and stay there. Using those two things, you can get pretty much anywhere you want to on the map, which might have its own benefits. However, the ice crystals do come with one steep cost, being they weigh 1 pound each, which is just a lot for something that you may want multiple stacks of if you're trying to do something specific. Outside of that, it's just a fun thing to use, and if you want to get the ice crystal, you can get a quest from Low at Whalebone that brings you over to Fisker Harbor. Once you complete that by going on a boat near the very end here, you get your very first ice pot. However, if you want to farm a better one, you can go to Securement Silo Psi, where once you finish the last boss, you have the ability to obtain hopefully a higher rating ice pot, so you can get more of these ice crystals quicker. With that, that's all there is to the Ice Pot, and then we're on to the Snapshot. The Snapshot is very similar to the Canine Skull, and a lot of people liked using the Canine Skull. It increases the weapon damage an enemy receives, and I'm very curious, and I haven't done the testing myself since I'm using a status weapon to start off the season, to see if the Canine Skull and Snapshot can stack. If you have done that research already, let me know in the comments down below, and I'm sure other people are interested in this as well. Outside of that, it is a combat deviation that allows itself to take pictures of the enemy dealing status damage to the enemy. That's pretty much everything there is to do with a Snapshot. However, to obtain the Snapshot, you need to go to the Onyx Tundra, which is the very right part of the map, and go to the Tundra Monolith. Once you defeat the Tundra Monolith boss, being the secret servitor, you have a chance to obtain your very own Snapshot. You do want the highest rated Snapshot that you can get, so I'm sure people will be farming this in hard and pro modes to make sure they get one that is reasonably strong enough, because it will increase the weapon damage received on an enemy as it levels up. There you go with the Snapshot, and we're off to the Invincible Sun. In the same vein as the Snapshot is similar to the Canine Skull, we have the Invincible Sun that is somewhat similar to the Pyro Dino. This will make the target take extra blaze damage, and on top of that, as it receives stacks of burn, the deviation itself, it'll increase its own damage as it creates these giant AoE explosions of blaze damage. This may be very useful for AoE content. However, previously, before we got the new shotgun that we have for fire builds, pretty much every burn build that we had was a Pyro Dino build. I think the Pyro Dino may still be king of the castle when it comes to burn builds, and if I'm wrong, let me know down in the comments below. But Pyro Dino did insane damage, and I find that if you mix the Pyro Dino that did insane damage with a gun that now does insane damage, you're going to be doing even better damage compared to the Invincible Sun. However, if the Invincible Sun and the Pyro Dino's effects stack, similar to the Canine Skull and Snapshot, you have a way to do an absurd amount of damage very quickly. To get the Invincible Sun, you're going to be going back to the Onyx Tundra, and this time you're going to Securement Silo Delta. From there, finish that, and you have a chance to obtain a hopefully higher rated Invincible Sun. Now we have the deviation that mostly anyone can't pronounce their name, and I probably can't either. I'm assuming it's Gazocchio. That's what I'm going to go with. I think that's close enough to right. I'm still going to get yelled at for saying it wrong. I know it. However, like the Nutcracker, this will defend your territory. Unlike the Nutcracker, this will give you a special item that it can find. It can find one of two things, from what I can tell: parts or mini Gazocchios. And the mini Gazocchios are an active item, as you can see in my hand, and you can shine it at things. It shines a radiant light, and this allows you to essentially eliminate the dusk or darken, or whatever effect it's called, from items and enemies. Enemies will now be available to be attacked, and items will disappear, allowing you to solve puzzles within the world. This is a very cool deviation, and I really like that they're adding puzzles to the game in a way that you need a deviation to be able to access, so it has a little bit of thought process behind it. And if someone has this in your group, they can always share the items with you so you can solve the puzzles for yourself. To get Gazocchio, two ways are about it, yet they're both in the same area. A low quest will bring you over to Wishland East, and there you will follow the quest of Gazocchio and get your very own. However, in that same area, you can eliminate the Duskin enemies after they're available to take damage, either from the streetlights or the Gazocchio item itself, and be able to farm higher leveled Gazocchios. Now, this is probably going to be anywhere in the map, and I'm curious to see how many more Duskin enemies are in the world. I have found that certain enemies take a much longer time to eliminate the effect from than others, and items too. Sometimes you're sitting there for a very long time, and I feel that can be toned down a little bit because it feels like you're just getting walloped on as you're trying to, destroy the veil over the enemy so you can actually attack it back. Outside of that, Gazocchio is pretty awesome, and I enjoy it. I enjoy the idea of puzzles needing deviations contained to be able to solve them specifically. On to the next, we have the Hydronaut Fish. And the Hydronaut Fish does two things. If you have a water filter or brewing barrel, it increases the conversion efficiency, or the quickness of the conversion, you can think of that. And also, it can catch fish for you, sometimes rare fish. It can collect seawater for you, seaweed, shellfish, things of that sort. However, for brewing barrels or water filters, I think that this is going to increase your ability to obtain acid quicker if you're in an area that can get it, or just get more booze to be able to trade with other people. To get the Hydronaut Fish, you go to low in Whalebone, and very nearby, you can finish the quest for the Hydronaut Fish, which is a very fun quest in my opinion. I'm not going to spoil it for anyone. However, that is a very fun thing. Now, if you want to farm Hydronaut Fishes for any other reason, you can go to Silo EX1, which is right here in the Onyx Tundra. By completing that, you can get your own higher rated Hydronaut Fish. Up next, we have the Tar Pudding. The Tar Pudding finds fuel for you. I have not seen it gather premium fuel yet, only standard mixed fuel. However, by having this deviation, it allows you to have your fuel refining facilities accelerate the conversion efficiency, similar to how the Hydronaut Fish worked, so you can create more and more fuel for the server for whatever need, probably mainly for Stardust refining. For the Stardust source would be my first thought of this. However, that's the use. There are two ways to obtain the Tar Pudding. The first one is another monolith boss, this time being the Treant at the Avalanche monolith. And it is the same Treant with a few differences, which is very cool to see a different form of a boss that has different abilities. I'm torn, but I like the fact that they put enough effort to give a few new abilities and change the map around for the Treant to give us an idea of how bosses can morph over time, which was a fun thing to see. Now, the other way to get Tar Pudding is a task later on, and we can see from low, we can find the Tar Pudding from him in Phase 2. Beyond that, Tar Pudding is a fun new addition, and for people who absolutely need to be on an oil field, it's going to be your best friend, I have a feeling. Next, we have the Snowsprite, which is our final combat deviation. And as you can see, I got lucky and got a skill rating 5 Snowsprite, which increases the frost damage an enemy takes by 48%, which is really good, to be honest. This generates ice crystals near the target every 3 seconds, and when shot, they shatter. This has a very interesting mechanical shift if you are using a specific piece of gear called the Snow Camo Gloves. This allows you to shatter any ice crystal, and it then creates 4 additional homing missiles that deal extra damage. And that absolutely works with the Snowsprite's crystals along with your own if you're using the Silent Anabasis, which is my current gun that I'm testing out. To get the Snowsprite, there are 2 ways that I've seen so far. There is a quest from Low, and as you can see, there's a lot of quests from Low that bring you to a place called Moose Land, which is here, Moose City. Excuse me. But you go to Moose City, I thought it was Moose Land, and you follow the quest of the Snowsprite, and from there, you're good to go. Maybe it's the Moose City Food Factory. Maybe that's where you need to go. It's one of those 2 locations. Low's quest brings you there. You follow the quest. I've heard that it has been quite glitchy for a lot of people where they can't get rid of the ice. If you need to fix that, all you need to do is restart your game by going to the main menu and back into the game, not fully closing once human, that is. And then that should fix the ice crystal issue. I've heard that same issue happen with the ice pot, but very rarely comparatively. The other place to get the Snowsprite is from the Chaos Weavers. Now, you might have seen Chaos Weavers so far. There is one over here, which is right next to Tobacco Resort. And these are giant monsters. And the main, I think, attraction of the season when it comes to collecting Star Crumb. And there is also another one nearby, I believe, somewhere in the snow. Somewhere in the snow, there's another Chaos Weaver. Can't quite remember where right now, but there is another one somewhere nearby that you can also fight. And these, when you do kill them, drop a lot of experience for one, some decent rewards, and also a higher level Snowsprite. And as you can see, you can potentially already farm a 5/5 Snowsprite to get the best version available to you. That is going to cover all of the deviations that are new in Once Human Way of Winter scenario. However, we also have some other things to talk about. They reworked the Mini Feaster, and in my opinion, they made it worse. Now you might ask, how can you make a deviant that was based on a bounce build even worse when bounce was so bad? Well, you can summon a lot of tentacles from the bounce build, because when you activated bounce, it would create a new tentacle. And that was great, because once you summoned 4 tentacles, you got a maximum damage increase, and this increases your base status damage by 60%, which has some use. However, they took something out of the Mini Feaster, which meant when you activate a bounce, or maybe in this case when you activate a status build type, it would create another tentacle, and it doesn't do that. And these tentacles disappear way too fast. Therefore, you're never going to get up to that 60% damage threshold. Very cool idea to create a status damage deviation like this. However, it needs to be tweaked and modified to actually be usable, because now it is just not usable at all compared to people who wanted to try bounce builds. They had something to use, being the Mini Feaster, even though the damage felt inadequate to begin with. Secondly, you can see here is I have a Shattered Maiden with the Wandering Witch special morph. Now, the Wandering Witch did get a bonus and buff to how it worked, which is great. Yet, in this case, why this is interesting is because if you are a collector of morphs, of deviations, you have 2 that you can collect. If you go to your events through F3 and go to your morph deviations event reward, this is through the weekly gifts, you can go to a shop. You can collect the Wandering Witch, which is a Shattered Maiden, or you can collect the Pumpkin Lantern Buzzy Bee. You can collect 2 of these before you can't buy anymore, and they seem to be the best thing that you can really buy from these outside of, well, yeah, outside of maybe these Wishland fireworks, which are probably a one-time use thing. Outside of that, these are the priorities that you want to get from that event if you did not know about that already. And the other thing that I wanted to mention with Deviations is through your scenario shop. If you did not know, you can go to your season goals, then to the season shop, and you have under season theme, you have rare memorial statues, which are awesome, exclusive name cards, which some people like to collect, and then under other, you have that. Where are these here? Where's the crate? Here's the crate under annual season 1. Excuse me, I had trouble finding it. Now this comes at an extensive cost of 5,000 Mitsuko marks. However, you can get a 5/5 up to 5/5 Berserkosaurus Rex or a 5/5 Radiant one. And then this is a way to collect the Berserkosaurus Rex and Radiant one if you do not want to go into Prism versus Clash, or really we have no idea when the next Prism versus Clash is going to be available to us. Now this is the funny thing. After 9 openings, you are guaranteed to receive a Berserkosaurus Rex or Radiant one with a level 5 skill and level 5 activity. If anyone's spending 45,000 plus on these boxes, I don't know how you got that much to begin with, because that's going to take years and years to achieve. But just getting one of each is my goal, because I like to collect these. So that allows us to collect the Berserkosaurus Rex, the Radiant one, and through our events, 2 morphs being the Shattered Maiden Wandering Witch and the Buzzy Bee Pumpkin Lantern. And we covered that the Mini Feaster just missed the mark. It's no good. I wish it was good. I love the thematic look of the Mini Feaster, but it just isn't there. So with that, that is everything I wanted to cover with Deviations in Way of Winter, and hopefully you learned something from this video. Thank you for watching, thank you for your time, and I'll be catching you again with another video in Way of Winter here very soon. Later.